live. All right. And we're recording. We're live. Welcome to the Movie Bros podcast, your favorite podcast where you come to watch and listen to people talk and dissect your favorite movies of today and yesteryear. I am Nary Science. With me, for the first time ever, we have a full panel today. Normally we have either one or two or three, but not four. So now we have four. We have Mike Mercadal.
What's up, bro? Oh,
Yeah,
I'm sorry, wrong show.
Okay. Yeah, wrong show. Mike Mercadal from the What's Up, Bro podcast, also the Kickflix podcast, and many more. So make sure you follow him on all the socials. We have Chad, our resident lawyer and film lover.
What's up, guys?
There you go. It's an audio format as well as visual, so you just might want to give an audio format. All right. And we have resident geek queen, Hilda.
Hi, guys.
All right. Today's movies, the movies that we are doing today, the two movies, because this is the format of the show, is that we're going to be reviewing Apple TV Plus's Spirited, Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell, as well as 1988's small time big screen classic Willow. Right.
Right.
Small independent movie.
Now,
movie came out.
For the record, how are these movies connected?
I think the creator of Willow has seen Spirited.
I imagine that George Lucas has Apple TV Plus available to him.
Yes.
These movies are connected by the slimmest of threads.
They are connected by nothing.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, we would be remiss to not talk about Willow and not talk about the TV show that is now currently actively airing. So we can get to that when we get to
Well,
that.
we're not there yet.
What a
I
world!
know.
We're gonna talk. We're not there yet. We're gonna talk about Spirited first. We're gonna talk about Spirited 2022's Spirited. It is the musical twist, I guess, musical version of Charles Dickens' A Christmas Story.
Christmas
And
Carol.
in itself,
Christmas Story
very...
is the Ralphie with the glasses.
Yeah, Christmas Story is very
right.
different.
I'm sorry.
They also have a sequel now.
Whole other that's a whole.
I would
episode.
actually like a musical version of that movie. That would be actually pretty cool.
Broadway thing.
I would take most movies in a musical format. I would like Predator. Can you imagine Predator in a musical format? That'd be amazing.
Oh my god! Only if he gets his own. He's got to get his own song.
Absolutely, he's got to get his own song in his language, but we can have subtitles. It's okay.
If it bleeds, we can kill it. If it bleeds, we can kill it.
I like it. See,
I have feelings
already.
I have feelings.
I ain't got time to bleed. I ain't got time or whatever. That is literally how I interpret. So I was not aware that Spirited was a musical going into it. And then because I just did not bear witness to any of the advertising, I didn't look at anything, I didn't see it. So when they started singing, the most vehement "what the fuck" came out of my mouth. I was like, "What the fuck?" I was not ready. You all knew that going in that it was a musical?
I had seen the previews.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
No clue. What a surprise.
You didn't know it was going to be a musical?
No, I just said that. I just did not.
Oh no, I literally had to step away from my computer because the visual audience can't see me. For those of you who don't know, you can watch us. If you're listening to the audio version, you can watch the video that lives on forever on our Facebook and YouTube channels. But I literally had to put my video off because the bandwidth was too much as far as me being on a cruise ship for the Wi-Fi. And I literally had to step away from my computer because I got a phone call in my cabin, which never happens. The only people who call me are people who tell me, "Hey, the show's about to start. Where are you?" Yeah,
money is involved.
So I got super scared that I was like, "Did I read the schedule wrong? I thought I didn't have a show tonight." And then he was like, "Hey, you got my letter?" I'm like, "The letter that says that the shows are tomorrow?" And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Yeah, I got the. Get the fuck out of here! Yeah, get out. I got it. Fine. Get out.
I didn't know this was a musical." And I just thought it was a comedy because it is like Will Ferrell and Ryan Reynolds. It doesn't scream musical to me.
No,
it's actually Ryan Reynolds first.
No, I think that's the way they liked it. I think that's the reason why they. Yeah, I think that was the reason why they
Hilda?
Yeah, I read it was I think it's the first time that he's acted in a musical.
Did he? Okay, he's Canadian.
The musical duo behind this movie is the same are the same two people behind La La Land and The Greatest Showman.
Both of which I have yet to see. I need to see.
Yeah, other like very musical movies. That's actually what got me excited at first, was because I really liked La La Land a lot, and I was like, oh, okay. So yeah, that was a happy surprise. And then I'm a sucker for anything with Ryan Reynolds, so I was like, yeah, let's go.
That alone sold me. I was like, Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, I was like, Ryan Reynolds. I was like, I don't even care if this is bad. Like, it's Ryan Reynolds.
I enjoyed that it was Ryan Reynolds not being a smarmy good guy. He was a smarmy bad guy. It's the same Ryan Reynolds, just different framing. But it's, you know what I mean? Like, Ryan Reynolds, God bless him, he's great as Deadpool, but he is Ryan Reynolds in every character. Like, he's like Tom Cruise, like one of those guys that's the same. It's a slight variation on a theme. You know what I mean? And then you get what you get. But in this framing, at first when they were like, oh, he's going to be a dick, I was like, oh, yeah, that makes sense, because in real life, all Ryan Reynolds' characters would be horrible to be around.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, Deadpool is not a nice guy.
Yeah,
I mean, like,
smarmy, like, just smarmy 24/7. No, thank you. I mean, give me
you still can't help but like him.
He's great.
I know.
Even Deadpool, you're like, I still like you though. You're awful, but I like you.
Did we like the premise of the movie? The whole idea that there is a spirit of Christmas, and every year they do a Christmas Carol, and it's been going on for hundreds of years.
I think it's a neat variation. I don't know how fast you want to move through the movie, but they sort of seem like it started at one point, right? I wondered what they were doing before that. But anyway, that's me nerding out about their lore.
I loved that we were actually seeing this from the ghost perspective, right?
Yeah, that was
like
cool.
Most of this, like, you think of every other iteration of A Christmas Carol, right? The Muppets one, all of them, and they're all
the best one.
Yeah,
the best one.
You beat me to it.
No, we talked about
Scrooge. Maracas on the raft. They're like
Scrooge in Christmas Carol. Muppet's Christmas Carol, man.
But this is now in this one, we're actually seeing like this, like, behind the scenes where the ghosts are all like, "Oh my god, can you believe this guy? Like, what?" You know,
I like the fact that
we're looking at from like the ghosts come and they're like scary as fuck, and it's like, oh my god, what is going on? Like, is this real life? This one, very similar to like the Bill Murray script. He's just like not scared. However, we're seeing like Christmas Past, right? She like totally fell for him.
Yeah.
He was like, she was
2
like,
seconds in, she was like, I'm in.
That was pointless. Why'd you even send me? Basically. And then she comes back. They're all having these conversations of like, this is a lost cause, dude.
But it was like a meta. It's very meta in the way that it's like a movie about, how do you make a movie about making movies that's not about making movies, and it's about the like and scene, like and cut. Yeah. Oh, great! Hey, positions everybody.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, they did it.
I very much appreciated the fact that it was, like you said, from the perspective of the ghost, but from their perspective, it's just a job. Like, this is a job. Right. Okay? You know what I mean? Like, there's an HR department. There's and being as someone who worked in corporate offices a lot throughout my life, I'm like totally relating to all of that shit. Where it's like, oh, don't call HR on me. I'm like, no, that's fine, it's fine. And like all these meetings.
She's like, are you texting
the
HR?
The only thing that I was waiting for was one joke where they were having a face-to-face meeting, and then somebody would say, this could have been an email. Like, that's the one joke that because I'm very familiar with the office environment where they have meetings for these dumb minuscule things that could have just been an email. I'm like, this could have been, and but I love that perspective. So this movie was great. I knew I was gonna like it. Let me rephrase that. I was hoping to like it. I knew it was musical, but I especially loved everything. What got me hooked was the promotion for this movie when they were sitting at a fireplace, the two actors, and they were talking about how they're like, we're gonna address the accusations that are singing in this movie is lip synced, and it's not lip synced. And then during that ad, they call cut, and the audio is being looped, and it's actually being dubbed by the guy from Milli Vanilli, which I thought was fucking
That
phenomenal.
was
Like,
awesome.
that
I never
ad,
saw
I was
any
like,
of this.
perfect.
Yeah,
That
was the first ad
you
I
should go
saw
on
for
Instagram
it.
more often, man.
Of all the things that I get spoiled for me, and it comes up repeatedly on every Geek Bro podcast about how I try to avoid spoilers on everything. I did not have 1 ounce of knowledge. I will say this: I am not a musicals person. I do not like musicals as like I mean, I can acknowledge when one is good and stuff like that, but it's not my go-to medium. There's something about the music that it's like it's like an emotional manipulation tool, but then they all start to kind of sound the same, and like they are emotionally manipulative in the same way. Like modern Broadway, when you hear like, I think Rent was my first exposure to that kind of like modern-y Broadway stuff. And then ever since then, I can't get I play music also, so like I can hear, like there's certain very specific intervals and chord changes, like, and key changes that are done where like the songwriters are gonna be like, what do you motherfuckers see this? Boom, and then it's like meant to elicit emotion, and it works. I'm not gonna say it doesn't work, but
music
it's
by
also,
itself is very manipulative.
exactly,
Absolutely.
but
Yeah.
it's very, it works in the same, like it's tried and true. So when I watch it, I'm just like, oh, there it is. Oh, right. And I'm not emotionally like in connecting with it because it just the musical nature of it pulls me out. So I
Gotcha.
don't
It must be
necessarily
so
like it.
difficult. It must be so difficult to be you, Mike. You
Not
like
really.
all of this
It's
goes
pretty
on in your
great.
head, man. All of this
I'm
goes on in your head. Like, we talked about this on the other episode where you're like, you are, as you're watching a superhero movie, you're thinking about the casting news that just came out, and you're like, how does this play into the bigger universe
I'm
and all this?
sorry it
Like,
hurts you to think as much as I do.
no, I'm
I
saying
know
like
you
I'm
can't
not,
get
and
it.
I'm not mocking
I'm
you.
sorry.
I'm just saying like I can't even imagine. I'm actually saying the same thing you're about to say, Mike. I'm so dumb that I go into a movie and be like, just like, okay, just give me what you got,
No.
and I'm not here thinking like, and here comes the manipulation tool. Like, yeah, it's a movie. The whole movie is a manipulation tool. Like, this whole,
I get it. That's
yeah.
the thing, is that you're not like, we're pulled out of it by different things, right? Like I'm sure there's something that when you're watching, especially if you're like familiar with the subject matter, like I'm a medical professional, so whenever hospital things happen, I'm always like, oh, this is gonna bother me. I'm sure, Chad, you if some lawyer thing is egregiously wrong, you cannot like separate, like it just happens.
It does.
I would
That's why I
never
stopped watching Law and Order. Couldn't do it.
right. I would never, Neri, I would never call you dumb to your face. The
No,
idea
I'm
is,
fine with that. But you know what I like about this? I like the fact that Mike is like, I'm a medical professional, so anything, whenever I see something medically incorrect in movies, it takes me out of it. Meanwhile, cut to episode 3, Mike and I talking about Black Christmas, and he was like, I love the fact that the eye sockets are super long. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, it's so crazy.
No, I
It's
said
so
that was
good medical stuff.
I said that I acknowledged that it was absolutely incorrect, but there was a lot of good drippy gore in it that was like accentuated. So everything, look, it's like
It's a
this
weird thing,
horror
man.
movies and musicals offer a very similar thing in that they are exaggerated.
Absolutely.
Right? There's exaggeration. Everything in it, like even the characters, like this movie had so many meta moments that it almost like imploded on itself with too much. Because even then they were like, "You're not going to start singing now, are you?" And he's like, "Oh,"
No.
he's like, "I'll give it to
That was
you
one
if
of
you
my
don't sing."
favorite. That was one of my
The
favorite
Marley
moments,
character was
because
all against the singing. He was like,
Yeah.
"Stop
that
it!
was
Can we
I
really
loved it.
again?"
I loved it because at that point I was literally watching it going like, didn't we just do a song 2 minutes ago? We're gonna do another song now. Like, I was thinking that, and he goes, we're not gonna do another song now, right? I go, yeah, thank you. Yeah, we can't do another song just yet. You gotta give these true and tried tropes a rest in between.
Right. Well, Hilda, as a musical lover,
I
where
love
does
musicals.
this stack
We're
up?
all
Yeah, but I'm talking to
yeah.
Hilda right now. As the musical lover, where does this stack up in your like? Is this as good as something else that is good? You know what I mean? Like, where would you put it?
I thought this one was more fun, right? So musicals are formulaic. I mean, they are, like you're talking. What we're
Yeah.
talking about is formulas, Mike, and like they
Yes,
work for a reason, right? But when I go to a musical, an actual musical, right? I know it's a formula. I know at some point towards the end of the first act, they might get a tear out of me, right? It's a build up, but it's to be expected.
The big
So
climax song happens in the middle, and then there's the resolution reprise
right,
at the end. They did the
Right.
fucking joke in the movie.
which is a joke in the movie.
Yeah.
But I mean, am I mad at it? No. I mean, one, it's like I'm not. It's a Christmas movie, right? So even if it's bad, it's still like it's kind of a feel good thing, right? You want. I loved the what is it? The Good Afternoon.
Oh yeah,
Number.
Are
you
you
my wife
kidding
and I were saying that to each other. Like,
Good afternoon. Like,
Good afternoon.
right? That's gonna be
When
my
Will
new, like,
when Will Ferrell goes
afternoon,
back into the
Mike.
cab, when Will Ferrell goes back into the cab, when the cab driver goes, "Good afternoon," and Will Ferrell goes, "You son of a," and he goes, "That's fucking. That was just great, man. That was just
So
great." But
I
look,
mean,
here's the thing: movies are formulas, man. Like
they're formulas.
I love sports movies and fucking sports movie. I mean, how much more formulaic can you get than a sports movie, right?
Yeah,
The
right.
team is
They're gonna be down at the end.
It's down in the slug. It's gonna lose. They look like they're gonna lose. Then they start training, and then they get better. And then there's a montage, and then the fight. It's tough, and then at the end, it comes out with the outcome. And even if they don't win the match or the game outright, there's a moral victory to it. Like there's always some kind of victory to latch onto, and you're like, it's a fucking.
Yeah.
If you want to look at every movie like a formula, you're like, that's. But that's what I'm saying. Like I don't watch movies like that. I watch movies and be like, this is great, or this sucked, or whatever it was. I don't watch it and be like, let's look at the formula. Like I'm not looking at it with Matrix eyes where I can see the numbers coming through the screen. Like, look at this motherfucker.
Yeah, you're talking about wanting to dissect it, which is not what I meant by saying it's formulaic. But when I'm saying by formulaic, it's to be. My reaction from it was to be expected, right? Is it a movie that I will randomly pull up and watch throughout the year? Probably not. But is it one that around the holidays I'll be like, yeah, I'll watch Spirited. Why not?
Yeah,
and I will put it on
for Xmas movies.
Yeah, I can see it. I can see it falling into that rotation of just like fun Christmas movies that I can see in the future throwing on during the month of December.
You know what I'm sad about that we don't have anymore, but this would be a perfect version of that, is the cable movie that you stumble on like a random Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, right. And we talk about it since the inceptions of Ubro, of like, the remote goes down and I'm just going to sit here and check this out for a little while. Like the channel flipper stoppers, you know, like where you're just like click, click, click. Oh,
yeah. During the day, like AMC would have them on like on a weekend. I'd be like, oh, Twister's on. That's it.
Perfect.
My next 2 hours are taken.
Like, Twister's on the day after tomorrow. Like, no, that's
those are classic.
My plans are done for the next 2 hours. Like, this is what I'm doing.
They're not They're not like these next level cinema they are movies, and they know they are movies, and that's like the one thing I will say is this movie is a lot of movies in one movie. Like there was a period piece. There was this is oh god, what's the one with the fucking It's a Wonderful Life? Which Christmas, which is
Scrooged.
there's a whole bunch. There's the musical.
Dickens.
Yeah, there's the classic Dickens. Literally, the old Ebenezer Scrooge is folded into this new version of it. There's a lot of movie going on in this movie, and the reason why I'm not watching these movies actively trying to like crack the code like I'm in the Matrix or whatever. The thing is that when a movie is able to prevent me from doing that because I'm fully engaged with what's going on, that's when it's like, oh, this movie is great. This movie is next level. When afterwards is when I do all that stuff, not during. You know what I mean? Like, you know,
that's
I'm not.
Where usually I fall is the afterwards. I can usually shut off my brain and just fall into the movie. And also, for me, movies are.
How do you turn it on?
Like brain candy. I don't know. Normally, I can't shut it off, but a movie will do it for me. But it's like my mouth. I can't usually shut it off either. But the movies to me are like short, condensed candies for my brain, essentially. Like I don't care. I will watch Die Zombie Die just for the funsies of it. You know, because it's like the most terrible movie ever. But it's an hour and a half. Okay, whatever. But like if it was the book or if it was like a video game and it stunk, I was like, no, I'm not wasting the next 40 hours of my life. But
do you bail on stuff when you're watching it? Like, have you ever just watched like 15 minutes of something and you're like, ah? Or are you one of those like you give it time to build?
I usually give it time to build, especially I'm a huge horror fan of, like I just said, I watch dumb, really Z-level horror movies. The one thing that has gotten me to walk away recently is this trend for slow burns. And I'm like, but something has to burn.
Yeah.
And you're not doing anything. And so that's I've walked away from a couple of like those Netflix specials or the 500th iteration of some zombie movie.
The slow burn. So my wife and I, we were watching this Olivia Colman drama that was supposed to be. It was something about the lost daughter, something like that. I can't remember what it was called. But the whole movie was going by, and we were all like, "Well, something's gonna happen." And then the credits started rolling, and we were like, "Huh, nothing happened."
Nothing happened. Yeah, that's what I felt like.
There's one way to go about it.
Follows.
Yeah, they did a thing. They went with.
You didn't like it. It follows. No. I liked. No,
so boring. The dumbest horror villain ever, or like the dumbest monster ever. Oh no, it's following me. Okay, I'm just gonna get on a train and go that way.
Or faster than walking travel.
Wait for like a day or two, I guess, and then I'm gonna get on another train and just. And that's assuming you don't like get on a plane and really outdo it.
Did you guys pick up? Sorry, I'm gonna like redirect here, but did you guys pick up on all of the costumes at in the party scene?
Oh yeah.
That was one of my favorite little like group of Easter eggs, like all in the same place, and especially the one guy who was dressed like Buddy the Elf.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And Will Ferrell's like, "You look stupid."
He's like,
he does. So one of the things that I loved, and I love it, and every time I see it, and I don't know why it's the dumbest thing, but when somebody does that, like, bam, and they're in a different costume, like a different variation of their costume, and and they're like went from a black suit to the gold suit or whatever. And,
in the opening number.
And I don't know why. I think it's from Buffy. The Buffy musical did it for me years ago, and the big villain did that.
Chad, you would love TikTok.
Yeah?
That's really all they do on TikTok, man. They do. Like,
I just thought they took off their clothes on TikTok. Sorry.
It's a bunch of transitions where it's like, and now I'm wearing different shoes. Like, what? How did he do that? Like, it's like a lot of those. Like,
I would love to do that. I mean, like, I want to do a different mood, and wham.
Every other one's like a hand over the camera. It's like this, and they come back, and then it's like something else.
Yeah, right. Yeah. There's a bunch of those.
Yeah.
I do have one question. Speaking of Easter eggs in this movie, we all saw the Dolly Parton statue as being redeemed, right? We all saw Dolly Parton.
Dolly Parton was the name that dragged my eyes to it.
Yeah. Exactly. What was she before she was redeemed? How she's like one of the like wholesomest people in the fucking world.
Now
Dolly Parton is she's a national treasure. So there's got to be.
What was she like 40 years ago when she was in her 20s? And
that's a way better movie in my opinion. Have Ryan Reynolds play Dolly Parton, and then have Will Ferrell be whatever Wagner.
So
am I the only one that gets? I am the only one that gets deserved. Okay.
Yeah, I dug this. I dug this movie, man. I will say this. I started watching this movie last night, and I had a long traveling day, so there was like for the first 10 minutes I was dozing in and out, but nothing of the movie's fault. It was just because I was tired and I was laying down. So like I literally had to take a walk and then come back and then like start watching it. And again, not the movie's fault. I'm watching it and I had a blast. I thought I wasn't gonna like all the songs. I was like, okay, one or two songs, and I'm a fan of musicals. I was like, okay, but the songs were really well written. I didn't know who wrote the songs. I still haven't seen La La Land. I don't really have any intention of watching La La Land, but I am a huge fan of The Greatest Showman. I think that movie's great. I think the songs in that movie are phenomenal. So I just enjoyed the hell out of this movie. This is really cool, and I like the fourth wall breaking. I like the swarminess of Ryan Reynolds, and I really do think it was great because out of all the people, pedophiles, criminals, people who have gender review parties, I'm the worst. Like I'm the worst guy, and I thought that's a great poll. I think I'm like, yeah, that's a good point.
Well, I think they were also trying to say that there's clearly a line that they think that people can redeem. I doubt they're like let me try to redeem this child murderer or whatever.
Right.
Like, they're trying to catch the border cases.
Yeah.
Right.
No, not even border cases, because I mean, what he does is pretty awful. Like, he destroys lives for a living, right?
Right.
And so it's kind of like saying the people you assume are the worst scum of the planet, the murderers, there's also other types of complete live destroyers out there, and it's
Yes and
basically
no.
what he does. He
I'm like,
makes
he
up
definitely
lies.
stirs the shit pot, right? Like, that's obviously
Yeah.
what he does.
Hey man, he convinced
But
that
he didn't do anything.
he was
Like, he's not the actor who
responsible for driving a child to suicide.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
That is a plot point in this movie.
Yeah.
It is a dark fucking movie.
that was a huge plot point that I was like, wow, that they went there. And
I actually was
obviously
glad they went there.
but I'm just
I was
like,
actually glad
can't
that
imagine
they
ever
went there
seeing that.
because too many times some movies go into like, and I was bullied as a kid, and that's what drove me to success, and now I'm the Bill Gates,
Right.
and I'm like, wait, what? That's not the way most fucking bully cases go. And
Yeah,
I
it was a
actually
big reality check.
as a father, I actually appreciated. I'm like, yeah, no, there's some fucking consequences to this shit. Like, again, they went dark, but they didn't go, I guess.
Yeah, they
fucking
definitely chose
nuclear,
the
where
extreme version of it for sure. But I mean,
they
that was the
didn't
point.
show the kid doing, you know what I mean? They didn't show the kid jumping off a building or something. You know what I mean? Like that. There's other
Right.
way. They went dark with the story, not dark with how they showed it. I guess is
Right.
my whole point. There was a vigil, not a funeral, not a burial, and I think those are the slight differences. Where I get what you're saying, that it went dark story wise, but I'm glad that they did, to show people, especially kids that are watching this movie, like, no, there's some fucking consequences. And I love the fact at the end that his character dies, because it went back to the beginning of the movie where that lady really did get hit by the fucking dodgeball. She really got hit, and it wouldn't make sense if he was able to dodge the bus now. It wouldn't make sense, because wait, why did that lady not be able to dodge the bus? Why did time stop for her and then restart at the same? You know, I appreciate all that. And the comment that he made, he's like, it's not a sacrifice if there's no consequence.
Right.
Yeah, that's why it kind of makes sense for her to get hit by the ball in the beginning. I thought that was like kind of a messed up joke on the spirit's part. Not a messed up joke, but a joke. Because like, she's the one who hit it, and then, you know, she was trying to engage and be part of the fun. And, you know, versus her Karen self, right? But this,
and the fact that her name was actually
Brian
Karen,
was like, it was an actual sacrifice.
Right.
And it would have, if they had saved him and then pulled him out, you're right, his action would have no consequence. And I loved it. I thought they did a great job with it.
Well, from another point of view, like, I love, one of my things, I love cramming movies that aren't in the same universe into a universe. Or think of this movie without the supernatural element from the perspective of like the niece and the brother. Like, think about what a dark fucking movie that is, especially in the reveal that he abandoned the niece when the sister died.
Right.
Like, from another point of view, this is a heavy fucking melodrama about families dividing and then, you know, like this is a hell, like a deep tragedy, with, if it didn't have Will Ferrell joking around and falling in love with Octavia Spencer, which I loved that
I think I agree with you,
breakdown.
Mike, but I think Charles Dickens, this whole story is, if you look at it from those incidences, from those perspectives, it's all dark.
They're all dark.
If you look at it from not
Right.
giving Tiny Tim money for his surgery, that's fucking dark.
Well,
No, and it wasn't even that. It was just not giving him enough to fucking eat.
To
live. Yeah, Christmas Carol
He
is
literally
dark.
starves to death in the movie.
It's
in the
fucking
original
dark.
story.
Scrooge, the fact that his dad gave him fucking meat for Christmas.
Yeah.
And then
supposed to be
he
the
chose
trauma
he
moment.
chose work over this fucking woman who was you know, a dime piece in all sense of the word. Like that, I again, all these things are dark. Like, that's the whole point of the Christmas Carol, is to say, like, hey man, you fucked up, and the fucked up things happen to you, and you've made some fucked up choices, but you know, you could change that. That's the whole. I mean, I dug it, man. I loved
that
fourth wall.
I loved that Present was actually Ebenezer Scrooge. That reveal. I liked that reveal, and I kind of saw that. I saw that coming from the
Really? You saw it? Oh, I didn't catch it at all.
When he walked into the room with all the statues, when he walked into the room with all the statues and they showed everybody's face, but they didn't show, and then he looked at one and it was Ebenezer from the back. I was like, oh, he's Ebenezer. Like immediately, I was like, he's Ebenezer.
Oh, I didn't.
And then,
I didn't pick up on that.
And
I was
then
too
10
busy
minutes
worried about
later-
Dolly Parton.
and then 10 minutes later, when they go, oh, he's unredeemable. Oh, it's not. It wouldn't be the first time. And he was like once, and immediately I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah, it was like just barely.
confirmed-
We just got
At
him.
that point, it confirmed my already strong suspicions. I was like, yeah, this is all right. That's him.
Also,
And see, Mary, for me, when they introduced Jacob Marley, and I was like, these two have a tight bond. And I was like, I bet you this is Ebenezer Scrooge, like present. Because they were just a little too linked. I'm like, yeah, there's something here. And I was like, okay. So that was my first clue. Like I wasn't sure, but I was like, if Will Ferrell's character means a lot to this guy. So I was like, I would not be surprised if this is Scrooge.
I liked Octavia Spencer in this movie. I love what they did with her in this movie.
There's a lot of movie in this movie.
There's a lot of movie.
I love the fact that she could see him, and that wasn't really explained as to why. But we kind of it was kind of left to us, the audience, to like, oh, I guess he wanted her to see him.
Yeah,
So
that was my understanding.
He wanted her to see him. Like that's again, but it wasn't really told, confirmed. There was like,
they never really said why she could see him because she was.
But I
was the only one that could see him.
Man. I dug out of it. It was really, again, and not to be in the overly woke manner. I love the fact that it had representation all across the board, right? Like that even when you go into their work environment, people are speaking in different languages. And
especially when he shows up. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
When Ryan Reynolds breaks into their thing, suddenly everybody's speaking in a different, in their native tongues. I think that was done on purpose because they're like, the ghosts can all understand each other,
right?
But this guy's not supposed to be here, so that whatever he doesn't have their translating software.
That's one of my favorite things of like when a movie just does one thing to explain something, and then you're like, yeah, and then that's it. They don't have to explain it for the rest of the movie. I was gonna be like, what? All these people speak English, and someone speaking Japanese, and I was like, oh, they got me. Okay, no more nitpicking. Or no, like immediately, I didn't have to worry about that at all.
Mike is going up to the board and just taking that dry, erasing that from the dry erase board from the formula. All right,
like in Billy Madison and putting lipstick.
So
you got me there. Got nothing for that. All right.
Yep. There you
go.
Right,
so
I agree
Rotten
with
Tomatoes
you on the. No, on the representation thing. You're right. Normally, I don't like representation for representation's sake. Because it doesn't make any sense if they do it in the most obvious way, kind of thing. Like, here's our token Hispanic guy, here's our token gay couple. Blah, blah, blah. It's like the most forced crap ever. But if you do it right and there's a story, or you don't like make it the biggest deal, and point it out like, here's our token, whatever.
Right.
And it's just done organically, which is what this movie did. I am 100% for
it. I don't mind it because to me there's no. Again, as long as you don't make it a like, hey, you're Hispanic, hey, you're Asian. Like, if you don't make it a plot point, if that guy just happens to be Hispanic, if this character is played by somebody who is Indian, if this character is played by a woman, and there's no like, oh, you're a woman. It's like, if there's none of that, I need all of it. I need all the representation. I don't like it when they point it out. Like, look at us being progressive. Like, oh,
give me credit for
like,
this.
Right? Yeah. Give me woke points. And it's like, if it doesn't have something to do with part of the story, it's just in there for woke points. And I don't know who falls for it, but clearly people do.
Well, I mean,
or at least the studio thinks that we do.
There's a lot of the only times you notice it like is when it's like egregious is when it's done in a way that like it demands when it feels forced is when it takes you out of the movie.
Right.
That's really it. If it's part of the story or not, if it's just existing, it's fine. I don't know. Like we are talking about it now more than I thought about it during the watching of it.
Exactly. Never once when I was watching.
Never once thought about it.
Wait a minute. Why is one of the ghosts female? What the fuck?
Yeah. Didn't give a crap. Didn't even jingle a bell.
You know what took me out of the movie? The fact that the ghost of Christmas Future was voiced by what's his name?
Tracy Morgan.
That's what took me out of it. Only because
I love that.
only because I've worked with Tracy Morgan before, so I was like, oh,
yeah,
okay, okay, this guy's in this movie now. All right, that's fine. That's fine.
I loved all three of the ghosts, but I loved Past. Past was my favorite.
Yeah, he was very funny.
I would love to see the HR complaint on that one. She slept with the perp guy. What do we do with that?
How did his hair smell?
She's great. She's actually like a comedic improv actor, and she was great in Glow. Did you guys see Glow?
No,
she was great in Glow. But she did such a good job of the clingy, like just being. At a certain point I was watching, I was like, there's no way these guys have redeemed these many people. There's no way they're batting 1,000. They were so clumsy at dealing with it, but then it kind of all like kind of gets explained away as that it was like forced. They didn't want to do this guy in the first place. They usually pick the right. And the way they did the scenes of like queue up such and such for the scene, and
that was so great. I love the fact that they did the transition, and he goes, "We were just here," and he goes, "Man, a lot of people put a lot of work into these transitions." I love that because as a performer, I've been backstage at shows where they're like, "That's it. That's your job." He's like, "Dude, my job is to put a stool out." I'm like, "All right, man, go ahead, put your fucking," you know what I mean? Like, I've been in that situation where they're like, "Hey, do you want a stool?" And I go, "No," and their face is like, "Well, I'm fucking useless now." And I'm like, "All right, man, yeah, go put a stool."
I will take a stool.
It's fine, cool.
Anyway,
I'll take a stool.
I did like the mix of like where,
but I'll take the stool.
Where one time like they're transitioning and it's like the magic fire thing that blows them all over the city. To the next, they're literally moving set pieces, like office furniture around. I'm like, okay. Well, our magic budget clearly was running short that time.
I like they're like, no more ad-libbing, and like what they're both of these actors are known for. We're gonna stay on script.
All right. So what is it? All right. So we gotta get going. So Rotten Tomatoes has this at the critics have it at 69%, 69, and the audience score is at 82%. So what are we rating this? 1 to 5, Mike? What are you rating this?
That sounds about right. I'll give it 3.5 good afternoons. Oh no, 3.5. 3.5 good afternoons. It's enjoyable, but it's not something I also like. If you're not a musicals person, and then instantly no. But also, it's like it's fine and fun.
All right, Chad. What are you rating?
So I'm gonna give it 4.5 buses.
Okay.
I really dug it, and mostly the only reason I won't give it a 5th star is, and it's not its fault, it's literally designed this way. It's a Christmas movie, and when it's for whatever reason, Christmas to me exists only between after the day after Thanksgiving and a couple days after New Year's, and that's it. Oh, and the rest of the time, it just doesn't hit me the same way, and I know that's a mental break.
Do you watch? Here's my question to that, Chad. Do you watch Die Hard during the summer?
Oh shit!
No. Die Hard's a Christmas movie.
Here we go.
But also, I'll give you this: Nightmare Before Christmas. That is a dual watch movie. Because I will watch it for
Hilda, what are you rating it? What are you giving Spirited?
Well, I was originally also going to give it on a good afternoon rating scale.
Hey, good afternoon.
Do that.
Good afternoon, Mike. Good afternoon. But I am going to go. I did enjoy this a lot. And even if I only watch it during December, I will still enjoy it each time I watch it during December. So I'm going to go 4 out of 5 redeemed Dolly Partons.
Yeah, that's better than my good afternoon.
The good afternoon's really good.
I'm gonna go with 4 out of 5. I'm also gonna do 4 out of 5 elf costumes cosplays. 4 out of 5. I enjoyed this movie. I thought it was really good. I think my minimum, like, I think 3 is a recommendation, and I think this is like in between. 5 is a perfect movie and 3 is a recommendation, and this is in between that. It's like, hey man, you should watch this movie. No, really, you should watch this movie. Like, that's like, I think it's really a fun movie. I had a good time watching it. So 4 out of 5. All right. That's a wrap on Spirited. See what I did there? A wrap. It takes place like, all right, that's a wrap. We're gonna go ahead to scene 2. We're now talking about 1988's Willow. the film synopsis of Willow says, "Enter the world of Willow. Journey to the far corners of your imagination, to a land of myth and magic, where dream and reality live side by side, to a place that never existed, a time that never was. It is a world where a young man named Willow lives out an adventure that explodes beyond the boundaries of his own hopes and fears." I love the old school movies plot summaries because they don't give you any information. There's nothing there.
There's
There's
nothing.
you can hang your
Nothing
on there.
about
Absolutely.
there's not that's not a plot summary. That's literally like just jerk me off with words that say magic and destiny and visionary and like what? There's nothing here. Like okay, man, whatever.
I wish
Uh,
more movies did this. Like it's the reason why if there's a movie I really want to see, I'll be like, nope, not watching trailers because they tell you the whole friggin' movie in the trailer. I mean, you're
and the
talking
comedy
how it
movies are the
starts,
worst. Yeah.
Yes.
at what point the storyline changes, and then it ends with like a happy ending. And I'm like, what? That was like a 2-minute condensed version of the freaking 2-hour movie. Like, why? It's so frustrating.
Yeah,
Mike should have seen the trailer to Spirited. He would have known.
What I was gonna say is that as someone who we get into that all the time, Hilda, about like once I'm already gonna see it, I'm not the kind of person that'll go watch all of the things that'll like leading up to it because I don't want to know anymore. And also every little bit that they give you is too much.
Right.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, they don't know how to hold themselves back anymore.
100%. I avoided just about every Star Wars trailer from the last trilogy because I was so excited to see them, and I'm like, I don't want anything to be ruined, like anything. And first, somehow I managed to do so until each of them came out.
That's one of those I couldn't help myself. All I wanted to do was just give me more Star Wars. Give me anything I can latch myself on.
Oh, it was hard, dude. It was hard. You're talking to the couple who had we had Stormtrooper helmets at our wedding that people signed. Like those were our guest books.
Awesome. Yeah, I wanted Dark Ray so bad. So bad. Oh, anyway.
So Willow.
So
Willow, what are your thoughts? What are we talking?
I'll go first. The only because I have a real quick tidbit. So we haven't seen it yet, but Queen Bavmorda, Jean Marsh, is in Return to Oz.
Yes.
So that's a link back to what we were talking about.
I was going to bring that up too. Neri still hasn't seen Return to Oz, which
I mean, I saw it
still
years
shocks
so
me,
long
Neri.
ago.
You have to.
Yeah, I never even heard of it until I met you guys.
No, Jean Marsh as the queen in this is so creepy. But if you think she's creepy in Willow, she is so creepy in Return to Oz. And she's probably one of my favorite people in Willow is this evil queen. But she is terrifying. Absolutely. She is the stuff of childhood nightmares in Return to Oz.
So this is one of the first movies
more or less
seeing.
than Angelica Houston in The Witches.
Way more.
So dark. Her Mombi in Return to Oz is one of the scariest things from my childhood.
So,
and I'm not going to say anything else because I don't want to ruin it for Neri.
Her and Willow was one of the first live action villains that I ever saw. Because this was one of the first live action movies I ever remember seeing as a kid in the theater. So her just obsession with killing this kid. And the dark sorcery and all that.
Not just a kid, a baby.
A baby. I know.
And so, and her facial expressions and how much glee she took when she was changing everybody into a pig and all this stuff. It was just
I kind of understand, but a baby. Jesus.
I'm not going to say anything. I still have a 2-year-old.
Well, I have 3 kids, bro. I could say it.
Yeah,
I understand, but baby.
But yeah,
this was my first time watching this movie. I had never seen Willow before.
No shit.
Really?
So this is my first. Yeah, I had never seen it before. This is my first time.
I've watched this movie so many times.
Yeah. What did you know about it going in? I mean, it's like a pop culture. It's kind of like.
I literally knew the cover. I knew Willow. I knew that there was a dwarf, a small person, and I knew that Val Kilmer was in it, and I knew that it had to do with magic and fantasy. That's all I knew of the movie. I knew that there was a journey. I assumed because I've seen the scene or maybe just a picture of him returning when people are like carrying him on their shoulders, like when he returns to town on the carriage or whatever.
Right.
I feel like I've seen that. Not I don't want to even say seen, but I feel like I've seen that picture before of him like, yay, I'm here, I'm back. And so I'm back kind of makes you feel like he went somewhere. So that's all I knew about this movie. And I knew it was directed by Ron Howard.
That checks out.
Good deduction.
And I knew it was directed by Ron Howard because I read Ron Howard's book like 2 months ago, and he talked about it in his movie, in his book.
And
So
the story by George Lucas.
Yeah.
I did not know that. That I learned today.
What?
I just watched the movie today for the first time, and when I said story by George Lucas, I'm like, oh, that actually has a chance of being good. Is what
Yeah, he wrote this after meeting Warwick Davis on the set of one of the Star Wars movies. And Warwick Davis was only like 17 when he met him. I think he was like 18 or 19 when they did Willow.
No, he was 17 when they made the movie. He was like 18 when he came out, but he did Empire Strikes Back when he was like a little kid, like 12 or 13.
Wasn't it that they wrote fan letters? He was like trying to get in there.
Yeah, it was after Return of the Jedi.
What did I say? Did I say Empire Strikes Back?
You said Empire.
Yeah.
No, I meant Return of the Jedi. But
yeah, it
with
was
the
after
Ewoks.
Return of the Jedi, where George Lucas was like,
Moron.
he had this idea to write this. He had it written with him in mind, and he was actually really upset that Warwick Davis didn't get like first billing, because the movie's really about him. Like Val Kilmer got first billing.
It's
Right.
The title of the movie is his guy.
I know, and it's like
Willow.
super shitty. It's
And
like,
Val Kilmer gets the
like,
title.
Warwick Davis should have first billing on this.
Well, it just goes to show that was like the whole point of him making a movie with little people as the stars.
Yeah.
But even then he couldn't get the star of the movie to be the little person. You know what I mean? Like they had to say, oh, it's Val Kilmer. Also, like the best Val Kilmer I think we've ever gotten on screen. People talk about Iceman all the time. He is supporting character for like 5 minutes of screen time.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
I would say here or Batman Forever.
Tombstone, we're just gonna.
Oh my god! I can't believe I forgot Tombstone.
Tombstone too.
No.
He was the only good thing about Tombstone. He was the only good thing about Tombstone.
No. He is not Val Kilmer in that movie. He is Doc Holliday. I'm talking about peak Val Kilmer, which is different. And also, this was before that. This was like right after Top Gun.
Yeah.
And he was like the most Val Kilmer-y, and he's like eating up the fucking scenes. Like he is just
he chews on scenery. Absolutely, he is chewing on the scenery like it's going out of style.
Charismatic as fuck, just kind of, and just being Mad Mardigan.
I enjoyed
the best.
I enjoyed how black his teeth were when we met him, and then how black they were not the rest of the movie.
He was in a crow's cage.
He was in a cage.
He looked remarkably good for being in a crow's cage for allegedly like a couple of weeks by that point.
It's Val Kilmer.
Right?
You know, I don't like. It just made me laugh. I was like, his teeth are really black, and then the next day he was like, "And we're done with this black teeth."
Okay, in all fairness, though, you know, he made his way to an establishment where he probably had the opportunity to take a shower.
A brothel? A brothel?
Yeah.
Because you know,
it was officially
hookers in Midgard are well known for their hygiene.
I don't know.
For their teeth cleaning skills, particularly.
Yes.
I saw this movie a couple of years after it came out. I mean, I was young, but it was a couple of years after it came out. But it was one of the first times I heard a character with my name on it. In a movie, because when he's caught in the brothel, she's like, "This is my cousin Hilda," and I was like, "What?
What? Other people can have my name?"
Because my name, dude, Hilda. Okay, the name Hilda peaked in popularity in like 1927. So my name is like old as fuck.
Right.
Like,
I know more Hildas now than I know me. I've only run into one other Chad in my entire life. So
yeah,
Chad has become a meme almost.
Well,
not almost. It is absolutely.
It's been a meme, at least for me, since the 2000 election in Florida. So
Hilda
Chad, pregnant Chad.
Hilda is not it's a very old name. And so when I heard it in this movie where she was just like, "This is my cousin Hilda," I was like, "What?"
That's awesome.
The only other time I had heard Hilda in a show was like an old episode of the Mary Tyler Moore Show. She had like a cousin, not Mary Tyler Moore Show, sorry. Rhoda, I think. And she had a cousin. She had a cousin that came to visit, and it was like Cousin Hilda. And I was like,
yes,
what?
Everyone's cousin is named Hilda.
Obviously.
I'm everyone's favorite cousin. Ask my cousins.
I'm waiting for cousin Neri to pop up on screen.
Unless you write it.
Our names were never on. Our names were never on keychains. It's cool.
Mine would never either. I could never find like the books on
Chad.
Disney or whatever. Never could find them.
Never had that problem. Anyway, I would like to talk about magic and how the fact that this whole movie is about like they waited to make it because the special effects had to be good enough for the magic. And watching it now, I'm like, I get for the time it was whatever, amazing, all these things, but there's still moments where you can like see them trying to get through the technical difficulties of their era. And one of them is always like where they show like clearly drawn, like stenciled magic effect.
Around the wand and stuff.
Yeah, like it looks like a lightsaber from 79. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just it's like I would love to see. I don't know if I watched like is the Disney Plus version the highest resolution or most restored version of it? So. It's got to be, right?
Because it was on HD and it claimed it anyway, and it looked pretty good on my TV.
Yeah, I rewatched it this week on Disney Plus, and it looked pretty good. As far as quality goes. But
the only obvious point. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to say. Speaking of that, the company Industrial Light and Magic. This was the first feature film.
Whatever happened to them?
I don't know. That would be fun to look up. But it was the first feature film to feature what they called a morphing process. Yes. And it was developed by them in conjunction with the other studios that were producing this. And it was MGM and Lucasfilm, all three of them together working on this. So that was a pretty industry kind of groundbreaking,
right?
Yeah, thing
super groundbreaking at the time.
Movie.
Yeah. The only part that I noticed was super CG was when that two-headed creature rises from the water.
Oh,
and,
the
Val Kilmer is standing in front of it. He's like, "Yeah, everybody's fighting, running away from me." It's like, no, it's the thing behind you. Oh,
I love the brownies though. I loved Kevin Pollak
with the brownies.
Kevin Pollak.
Yeah. I was wondering when I saw the credits roll. I just never noticed him before. Like, I remember the character, but I never knew it was Kevin Pollak or even who Kevin Pollak was. But then I saw his name flash across the screen, like, who the hell does he play in this movie? And then the brownies walked on the screen. I'm like, oh, right.
Yeah. Which I loved that the main character was a dwarf little person. And then they also had the daikini, and then the little brownies were like less than a foot tall. I was like, the scale of that was more impressive than any of the magic. Like just where at a certain point you're just like, oh, the brownies are there, and then maybe at a certain point you see like it glitches or they see something like out of place, but otherwise it's just like, oh yeah, that's where they built. That's it. That's how it is there, you know.
Yeah, the brownies, the Nell.
What did you guys think of the movie itself?
Yeah.
What did you guys think? Because I'm watching it with like brand new. I watched it today for the first time ever in my life, and you guys have seen it 1,000 times. So my question is like, rewatching it recently, did you guys think anything differently than when you were kids, or do you guys just see it?
For sure, you see it differently now. I will say this: I loved this movie, and I saw it recently. Well, not recently. I saw it like a few years ago. They did a screening of it. This is pre-COVID, like, so it's been 3 years now. Like right before COVID, they had a screening where I went and they showed it like at this, like with an audience. Right, like you got to watch it with a bunch of audience in Brooklyn, a bunch of hipster Brooklyn people, millennial, whatever.
So that was 30th anniversary. It was a couple years ago because
yes.
And
then we watched it in like this place that it had like where you would sit on the ground, almost like a field, like they made it open seating. So it was just a bunch of people like picnicking, watching Willow. And you could just feel like everyone just like nostalgia bombing all of like, oh my God, nostalgia. I remember this from when I was a kid. And I will say now it's a little long. It could be shorter. There was a lot of this. There was some stuff that was like, okay, you know, like it's a little long. They could cut it down a little bit. And I think that's what they're doing now with the show. It's like more fast paced.
Well, they also have more.
I haven't
haven't
watched the show because I hadn't seen the movie. But
I refused until I rewatched the movie, and I mean, it just came out like a week ago.
Yeah,
and I knew we were going to do this, so I was like, I'm not watching it until I get a chance to watch the movie again.
I will say, so I wasn't the biggest uh, it's
Nope, you're cutting in and
it's
out.
tough to say because the movie, like I'm looking at the movie and I'm thinking, oh, I could see, what takes you out of the movie. Like I see all the hard cuts and the hard edits, and I'm just like, oh, this is not shot on the same. Like, you know what I mean? Like when there's two people having a conversation, but they're clearly not in the same room, and it took me like these close-ups that sometimes they weren't even facing the same way anymore. Like, wait, he was facing the other way. Like that took me out of it. And I have to say, and this is in no way, I just the beginning with the dwarf village, and again I'm saying dwarf because I don't know the actual name of the characters. Or
They're
Nelwyn.
Nelwyns.
Nelwyns.
They are
Okay, so
Nelwyns.
thank you. So that whole village scene, it was a lot of tough acting, bro. I mean, it was just not good acting on multiple characters. Just, and again, it's not isolated to this one village or one scene of the movie, but it felt like multiple people did not act well in this scene. I think the main character is a good actor, and his wife is a good actress. The lady that plays his wife is a good actress. The guy who plays the Lord, I get that I'm not supposed to like him. I understand that he's a bully, like a fucking in a big mouth. But I just didn't feel like he was a good actor. I felt the opposite. I'm like, this guy fucking sucks as an actor, not even as a character. As a character, I get it. There's, you know what I mean? Like when I watch Johnny Lawrence, I get it. I'm not supposed to like him, but I never think he's a bad actor. Right. That's how I feel about this guy. I'm watching this guy, and I'm like, this guy's a bad actor.
Whoa. Oh, you're talking about I was thinking of Matthew Lawrence from Blossom.
Oh, you're going to Matthew Lawrence? Oh,
I misunderstood. I was like, wow, way to insult this actor.
I was like, what are you doing, Mike?
What am I, Matthew Perry? What am I, Matthew Perry? Just insulting a random beloved actor for no reason?
Jennifer Lawrence. Fuck that guy.
You know what? I didn't like Lawrence of Arabia.
I mean, to be fair, there was the handful of people. To be fair, also, the acting of the era is also very much like that, and it's also a fantasy genre film, which is very overacted historically.
I don't like giving that out, because within this movie there were good actors. Within this movie there were really good fucking actors. Within this movie, the main bad lady, I forget her name,
Queen Beth Morda.
You're
right.
She fucking crushed it. At no point in time did I think to myself, did I think to myself, she's a bad actress, or this is an 80s fantasy movie. No, she fucking crushed it. I don't like giving this blanket, like it's the acting of the era. Like, oh, fuck that. There's if that may play a part in it if nobody else in the movie did a good job. But there was other Val Kilmer, as you said, fucking Val Kilmer the fuck out of this fucking role.
Yeah,
right. Like I enjoy. I mean, there's parts that I enjoyed. And I will say this: there were times where I was watching this movie where I was like, "I bet you Ron Howard would love to remake this shit. I bet you he would," because I've seen his movies since, the movies that he's made since, and I'm like, yeah, and he's such a better filmmaker. And I'm not just saying that because he himself said that in his book. I'm saying I'm noticing it. I'm like, oh yeah, he's such a better filmmaker now than he was back then. Like,
you go back and retouch a piece of art that you did 20 years into your, at the beginning of your career.
Yeah, but he's not Ridley Scott, so he do that. Only Ridley Scott can do that.
I know, right? I would love to see. I think they did a great job. I mean, obviously, I saw it first with what was it, 87 or 89? So with my kid eyes at 7 or 9 years old, whatever that was.
88, 30, 34 years, so 88.
So 34 years ago. Obviously, I watched it a bunch in between, and every time I age up or whatever, I do take it a little bit differently. But I did think that. Yeah, there was, like you said, there's some very bad acting, which is semi-typical for the era for this kind of film. They like throw a bunch of random actors at these things. Half the time we're catching them on their first, maybe second live, like their actual roles. First time they have speaking roles, it feels like. But
but Sigourney Weaver's first movie was Alien.
No, it was not.
Yes, it was. Her first
movie.
Sigourney Weaver's first movie was Alien. She
I
had done some theater work before, but her first movie was Alien. I'm not trying to brag, but I also heard her say this on a podcast yesterday. So I'm like,
oh, okay. Well, if it came out of her mouth, then I guess
I'm not trying to brag. And she said, yeah, she's like, yeah, it was basically, and this is how green she was in that movie. She said that the director, some guy, Ridley Scott, came up to her and goes, hey, I need you to stop looking directly into the camera. And her response to that was, I would, but you just keep putting it so close to my face.
Okay, so I mean, technically,
what am I supposed to do? She literally asked her other actors. She literally asked other actors, "How do you not look into the camera?" Like during the filming of that movie.
Well, the acting aside of like the kind of performances that we were supposed to be getting from these actors, it's also like, at what point do we like, does it, like, how important was that to the movie? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's like, hey, it's a group scene. It's like, it might as well be the fucking the cantina scene from Star Wars.
It's like how important is it to your experience, right? Like watching it. Like, is it, because yes, there are occasions where you watch a movie and it's like, okay, this is really bad, and it takes you out of the world, right? But I feel like with Willow, to me, it doesn't detract so much that it removes me from this fantasy world.
What I was gonna say is, as a kid, I probably noticed the weirdness more, like, why are they talking like that? But as an adult, I get it that they're just reading lines that they memorized, and that's how it came out. You know what I mean? Like, as an adult, I'm like, these are not the most important people of the movie. That they are there to establish the transition to something else where it's Willow is now alone. Like, that was it. That was the whole point. Yeah. As an adult, I can rationalize all of that stuff, but as a kid, I was probably like, I don't like this part. And then until it gets to where, Mad Mardigan is.
That's how I was watching Star Wars. I'm like, can we just get to the lightsaber parts? Like, that's. I remember saying that. I said that with Teen Wolf. I was like, can we get to the part where he's a wolf? I want to get to the part where he's a wolf.
Teen Wolf. But the idea of like when they finally show Mad Mardigan fighting with a sword in the snow, like when he's beating all those people up, and like, he is a hero. Like, that part, it felt earned, right? At that point, you're like, because if they would have just showed him being a badass, that's why, like, I understand, like I said, it could be shorter, and the pacing of the parts that I guess what I'm saying is that in my adult brain, I'm rationalizing that I could have gotten that. But they don't make it for my adult brain in 2022. They made it for all ages in 1988.
Yeah, it's definitely aimed more at young kids. There's no doubt.
So they have to, like, here's the bad guy.
Mike, that you're talking about, that moment, it's like, I feel like for Mad Mardigan, it's such a transitional moment because he runs into Eric again.
Yes.
And he's just like, you fight for no one. And he's like, I fight for the Nelwyn. And you're just like, yes! Like, he's found his purpose, you know?
And then when he dies, he's like, win this war for me. And then he's like, yes.
But again, I mean, like,
I loved Eric when they were like, he's like, we have no chance. And then he was like, he said, we do if he's like, Willow, can you get us can you protect us? They asked, can you to the lady, the witch, can you magic help us? And then she was like, no. And then Eric was like, all right, well, we're out. Like, he literally was like, and we're done. Like, it's like, let's get the fuck out. That's the most realistic response of life.
Who is that actor? Like, I haven't had a chance to look him up, but the guy who plays Eric, he looks so familiar, and I'm brain.
I don't know. Dreamboat. Jesus, that guy.
Okay, well, I'll look. I didn't know if anybody knew offhand.
No, I don't know who he was. I don't know who he is.
Not offhand. I'd have to look it up.
Like,
Gavin O'Herlihy,
but he's not, obviously.
I don't know who Gavin O'Herlihy is.
Yeah,
they did have Tony.
He's like a Scarsdale of the 80s.
Yeah, he's one of the Skarsgards.
Skarsgård.
He actually went on to create a dodgeball league.
Awesome.
Patches O'Houlihan, you mean?
Yes,
you can't just
I know.
jam these Irish names together and expect me not to notice.
Well, I'm glad somebody noticed.
I'm
glad somebody didn't be like, wow, let's look this fucking dodgeball league up.
That Raziel lady at the end, what the least intimidating presence I've ever seen in my life. Like, the other lady is like a badass, and then she's just like, like, here's ice in my fire, whatever. That I would say like that was a tough sell where I'm like, okay, she was
I did like
crow
their
the whole time.
I did like their fight. Oh, and it was killing me the whole time that they kept saying it's not Raziel, it's Raziel or something like that.
Raziel,
but it's spelled Raziel. In all the
captions,
subtitles, and the captions. And I'm like, I know it's Raziel. I've studied Archangel stuff. It's Raziel. Stop it.
Say it right. Well,
there's nobody on this set have Wikipedia,
right? But honestly, it reminds me of a lot of stuff that I did when I was a kid, because I didn't have almost anybody to talk to about the fantasy stuff that I was reading, and I mispronounced crap all the time. Yeah. And when I finally ran into a group of people that knew what the hell they were talking about, I made a fool of myself all the time. Like I said, occulty as opposed to acolyte and all this other stuff.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's called Woobro for the last 11 years. I do that.
I never get mad when people mispronounce a word that they learned by reading. You know what I mean? Because you never hear it out loud, and then finally one day you're like, "Oh, I'm gonna file that away in my brain as like, oh, I've been saying it wrong for 20 years." Got it.
Yep. Done that way too.
Yeah, that's that's why I don't read, man.
Yeah. That's fair. That's fair.
So what are we?
Rotten Tomatoes.
I'm sorry, real quick, Neri, because I'm always finding random shit when I'm looking up stuff. But I found some fun facts about this too. That double-headed monster. So they don't actually say it in the movie, but apparently in the old press kits when the movie was coming out, it's called the Eborsisk, which was named after Siskel and Ebert. Which I thought was a really fun little tidbit.
The two-headed. I get it.
Those devil dogs that were chasing the Noans, those were actually Rottweilers in rubber masks and suits.
I knew those were actual dogs.
Those
Rottweilers.
And I'm like, now I can't unknow that, and now I feel bad for the animals.
I'm sure they got good steaks.
They're monsters. It's a fantasy world. They're bad, evil. I do want to read I did find out that they continued the story in some novels written by X-Men writer Chris Claremont, and they're called like Shadow
legendary
Moon,
writer.
Yeah, Shadow Moon, Shadow Dawn, and Shadow Star.
Oh, I have heard of those. That's right. I totally forgot about them.
Yeah, they genuinely wrote those books to continue the story because they didn't make enough money off of the release of the movie. It's what cult classic, So they were like, I got more story to tell. And I'm like, I am curious about these Willow stories. I just learned it when we were talking about it for the show.
Well, they set up an amazing world. Obviously, I'm hoping they really do it justice.
Never
in
named.
The show.
You know how
they never name the world.
Middle Earth is where they never this world is just, for all intents and purposes, it's Earth. It's the same. It's just Earth.
It's a fantasy world.
It's just
And
insert generic fantasy name here.
Yeah. Even the Empire, Laura is supposed to be a princess of eventually. She's like, well, it's in ruins now. Tell something, whatever.
Tear something. Tear is lean.
Yeah.
I mean, it got $137 million in the box office, dude.
Yeah, on a $35 million budget.
And they still said that wasn't enough to make a sequel?
They were like, there was not enough interest, I guess. That's why they did it in books.
Yeah, technically it made over $100 million over the budget they spent.
I can't imagine. Clearly not enough money.
I guess.
So the budget is $35 million. Even by today's standards, in promotions, they spent like the amount of half the budget. So you're looking at $50 million together, like marketing and the budget of the movies at $50 million. You still made $137 million, bro.
Yeah, really.
I think you should have.
It's like freaking EA going, "Oh, Call of Duty only sold 40 million copies. Not enough."
They leverage all these things for future God only knows how many things got made on the backs of other big budget things that they knew they were going to lose money on.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess they gamble. They're like, okay, so Willow's going to come out. We're going to make enough to make these 3 movies, and then they're like, "Go, okay, enough to make this one movie."
It's always.
I'm sure that happens all the time.
Hollywood is a weird, Batman versus Superman is considered a letdown. Not a flop financial, but it's considered a letdown, and it made $800 million. But because it didn't cross that $1 billion mark, they're like, it's a letdown. It wasn't.
Well, yeah, it's all about what you set as your expectation. If you set your mark at $1 billion, well, then you're gonna fucking dig it.
That's why whenever I go on stage, I open up with a shitty joke, just set the bar real low. And then everything else, you're like, hey, it wasn't bad.
At least it wasn't that first joke.
Yeah.
So
Except for the
Rotten
handful of
Tomatoes,
people that walked down the beginning.
yeah, Rotten Tomatoes has it. Critics gave this a 53%, and audience score is 79%. So we leave it to you, our panel. Mike, what are you rating this movie?
I'm going to give it. It's hard because I'm going to give it 4.5 out of 5 brownie love dusts. Because it is like it is a nostalgia spell that you have to be under to really kind of like love it. But I love it. Like it's my 4.5. And I've been under the spell of it, and it's like it's mine. So I love it. I'll watch it again whenever it enters into my mind. I'll be like, oh yeah. And now I'm gonna watch the new show. So I love it. It's good. It's not perfect, but it's good.
Chad?
So I'm gonna give it for the same reasons Mike just said. Is I'm hooked nostalgia wise. It's hard to separate out, even though obviously there are flaws. That's why I won't give it perfect, but I will give it 4.5 skull masks.
Okay. Hilda?
Most 80s, early 90s movies in this kind of fantasy realm have a huge soft spot in my heart. And I'm gonna go 4 out of 5 Cousin Hildas.
Yes.
You stole mine, Hilda. You stole my rating system.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I literally was gonna go with Cousin Hilda's. I was like, all right, Cousin Hilda's.
You can totally offer your own version of Cousin Hilda's. Go for it.
I will
because it's probably not gonna be 4 out of 5.
No, it's not at all. I will say this, Hilda. I thought you were gonna give it higher because if Mike and Chad gave it 4.5, and I know how deep your nostalgia runs, I thought you were gonna go higher. I thought you were gonna go 5 or 4.5 at the least. So look, I liked a lot of things about this movie, and there were a lot of things that were very difficult for me to like not see as a 41-year-old man in 2022. So I'm gonna be very nice and generous, and because I like the filmmakers, I'm gonna say 3 out of 5 redhead babies. 3 out of 5 redhead babies.
I like it.
There you go.
So
redheaded stepchild.
Redheaded stepchild.
But she never a finger was laid on her.
You can't endanger a baby. Like you can endanger the baby, but you can't
They clearly were endangering the baby, but whatever.
Yeah, that baby
I want to know who sold that to their baby to the
that baby was wet a lot, right?
Really scary chick who's yelling in her face the whole scene at the end. Don't worry about it; it'll be fine.
Yeah, but the baby was getting wet. I just kept worrying about the baby getting sick. I'm like, the baby's gonna get a cold.
That's what I'm saying.
The baby's gonna get a cold. Like,
on her.
She was in rain. Around. She was in rain a lot. I was like, this baby's gonna get a cold. What are we doing?
You guys want to know another weird fact? Those babies, that wasn't their real hair. Those were little like baby wigs, and the wig adhesive was like too strong for babies, so they actually stuck the wigs on with syrup.
Oh,
that's hilarious.
But now I'm so disappointed that wasn't their real hair. God damn it.
Thought because they were redheads, I actually, while watching the movie, I actually went to IMDb to look up to see if this was Bryce Howard.
That'd be cool.
Dallas Bryce Howard. Yeah, Bryce
Dallas Howard.
I thought it would be her because of it. Obviously, Ron directing it, and I was like,
I thought I put that together that she's her dad or he's her dad, right?
Yeah, and I was like, is this Bryce in the movie? Because honestly, she's just in a few shots. It's not like
Yeah, they probably got her done in like a day, maybe 2.
Yeah, I'm sure. Even if they got her done in a week, it's like a week of shooting. It's fine. It's not. They're not gonna. It's what I mean. It's fine.
Yeah, there was actually 2 of them. They were twins.
Yeah, they love doing that shit. Yeah.
That's the way it usually goes. It's for time because kids could only film for like 2 hours at a time before they have to take a break and shit.
Well, one of them gets wet and you
get twins. It's a twofer. It's a 2-for-1.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, guys. That's a wrap on the second movie on 1988's Willow. Now that you've seen it or watched it and heard our reviews, feel free to go on to Disney Plus and check out the Willow TV show. the series and let us know what you think. I'm gonna
And
do
or
that. I'm gonna
go
watch
on
the new
Apple
Willow show.
Podcasts and write us a review. Hi, I'm Mike from
Absolutely.
Movie Bros. We'd love for you to give us a 5-star rating on the Movie Bros podcast on Apple Podcasts and any platform on which you listen to this show.
Yes.
And if you
I
need
will
a
send you.
threatening moment, we'll send Neri after you.
I will send you free merch if you send us a screenshot of you putting a review on Spotify or Apple Podcast. I will send you free merch.
We have
We're
Absolutely.
not at.
I have
Mary's-
a warehouse.
Mary's
I have a
not
room
bribing our
of fucking merch that
subscribers.
I'm like trying to give away. Yeah. Yeah. So actually, I'm wearing a shirt. You know what? Let me take my camera off because the Wi-Fi seems to be okay. But I'm actually wearing the.
What?
Oh, you already made the shirt. Holy shoot.
Yeah. There you go. There's a shirt.
Come on.
Good
That's
afternoon
great
to
for
you,
the audio
citizens.
listeners.
There you go. So I'm actually wearing the Movie Bros shirt that you could find on our link. You could find on our link. So if you go to our Instagram, which is Movie Bros Pod, you could click on the link in the bio and you could actually go and get your own shirt. And different styles, t-shirt, tank tops, different colors, the whole thing. Duffel bags, book bags, it's a whole thing. You can shop it online. Anyways, thank you very much for checking us out. Make sure you check out all the other podcasts that belong to the Geek Pro Network that include, but not limited to, better let me tell you, the Childlike at Best with Mike Valdez, the What's Up Bro podcast with Mike and I, the Cramacopia, which season 2 is rolling out now. So Cramacopia with our friend Jeff from Kickflix. And the Kickflix podcast, the Shiver horror movie podcast, and then check out Hilda's at Tabletop Gamer Girl on Instagram because she does a lot with tabletop games and board games, and she's awesome. And she'll give you right, Hilda, you do reviews on board games and stuff.
Yep.
Yes.
All kinds of board games.
So
Awesome.
she's fantastic. Anyways, thank you guys for checking us out. And that's how movies are reviewed. Love you guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.